This is the Daily Drop
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
with Addy Ads and ShrimpZoo. From Daddy and Daddy Addy talking geopolitics, science, and anything and everything under the sun. Every weekday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And now, here's your hosts, ShrimpZoo and Addy Ads.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is Sunday afternoon. It is the 6th of September. We are south of 60 days until election 2020 in the United States of America. I am joined by my co-host ShrimpZoo from Buffalo, New York, and we are talking a lot today. We got a longer show today, going about an hour or so. And I wanted to bring up Julian Assange because I think there's a pretty big development in the Assange saga, and as it relates to Seth Rich, which, if people don't know, Seth Rich was murdered the week of the election 2016. His murderer still has yet to be found, and Mr. Rich was associated with the DNC documents leak during 2016. And Julian Assange has repeatedly said that those documents did not come from Russia. They, in fact, came from an internal source within the Hillary Clinton campaign, which federal prosecutors have vehemently denied as they continue to try to pin it on Russia. But we have a judge in New York, Sarah Netburn, a judge of integrity. She has asked Mr. Assange to testify in the Seth Rich murder case. So she's asking for cooperation from the United Kingdom's government, as they are the ones who hold custody over Julian Assange right now. He is currently being held at HMP Belmarsh prison in England. HMP Belmarsh, one of the toughest prisons in England, holds many dangerous men, such as Lee Rigby's killers, the great train robber, and the rapist child killer Ian Huntley as well. And of course, the WikiLeaks founder, Julian Assange. Robert Mueller interviewed hundreds of people in his investigation, but not Julian Assange himself. According to Ellen Ratner, who I believe is associated with Fox, she met with Julian Assange the Saturday before the election 2016, and she stated that Julian Assange told her that they were in fact leaked from the Hillary Clinton campaign. The Department of Justice has charged Mr. Assange with 18 counts, including 17 counts of espionage crimes and 1 account of computer misuse. If convicted, he faces up to 175 years. One caveat that the United Kingdom has stated is they will not send Assange, they will not extradite him to the United States if he, in fact, will face the death penalty. So they refuse to send him to his execution. And Lenin Moreno, the leader of Ecuador at the time of his release, gave Assange to the UK. As we know, he was in political asylum at the Ecuadorian embassy in London. And it seems that under pressure from the United States, he relinquished custody of Assange and handed him over effectively to UK authorities. What are your thoughts on all of this, ShrimpZoo? Julian Assange, the whole Assange saga. What do you know? What are you thinking?
Well, I have some kind of different thoughts on it. Like the Ecuadorian embassies kind of said they kicked him out because he was smearing poop on the walls. He wasn't taking care of his cat, and he was pushing back that he was being spied on and stuff. So I'm wondering what happened with that. This is kind of like irrelevant, but also it seems like he had a relationship with Pamela Anderson in there too, and she just got divorced. I was always wondering if she was bringing him in anything. It just seems weird. I'm not sure the reason why they really kicked him out, or if that was just a smear campaign, saying that he was putting poop and stuff on the walls and not taking care of himself or the cat. It's hard to tell what's going on with him. It looks like he's probably being tortured, though. Some of the last pictures that we saw of him, he was looking pretty rough. He had a really long beard, and it looked like he had aged like 10 years.
Yeah, he's in solitary confinement right now at HMP Belmarsh, which, as we all know, is very, very deleterious to mental health for humans. People just kind of end up going crazy if they don't get contact with other people.
They're probably trying to break him. I mean,
Yeah.
it's tough being with the pandemic. It's tough just living at your own house, but he's been in that embassy for years now in solitary. Probably pretty rough for him.
Yeah, and even worse now that he's in custody, which I'm sure he's not eating as well. He doesn't have access to the internet or anything like that either, whereas he did at that Ecuadorian embassy, and he would actually hold talks from the balcony there to address supporters as well, of which there are quite a few supporters of Julian Assange in the United Kingdom. So shout out to our patriots over there. But what do you think about what he did in as far as establishing WikiLeaks and releasing these sorts of documents, whether it's the Iraq war documents, the cable gates with the embassy cables, and in particular, these DNC documents, which seem to kind of be the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak, insofar as pissing off the U.S. government enough.
It's kind of weird. I guess both political parties probably would have gave him freedom if he would have played along. There's been reports that Trump offered him a pardon if he didn't blame the hacking on Russia. I'm not even sure what Russia really did, if anything. I haven't seen any evidence yet. But I think they're just kind of using him as a tool. Sweden and UK and America. He's in a gray area between journalism and hacking. He grew up as a hacker. I don't think he's been hacking anymore, but he's been distributing news from classified sources from governments around the world. He's got a bounty on his head. They're going to kill him eventually.
You think so?
I think so. If they don't kill him, then they're just going to keep him in solitary in some jail forever. So he's never getting out now. He knows too much, and he's released too much secrets. He's made leaders all over the world pissed off.
Do you agree with him releasing those documents?
It's tough to say. Like, they say that he jeopardized people spying on like terrorist groups in Iraq and stuff, but me or you can't really go look up like some random dude and see if that's true or not. We just have to take their word for it. I guess hopefully that didn't happen, but he distributed that famous video in Iraq where they were an American helicopter was like shooting down like I think it was like Reuters journalists and stuff, and they came back and then shot him up again. That seems important to get out because the U.S. military killed like 3 Western journalists and hit it up.
Yeah, and they were excuse me, they were aware they were civilians too.
Yeah, because they did like the double tap missile or whatever, or the double knock, where they send one missile and then everybody comes to save them or clean the rubble up, then they send another. I don't know what to think about Assange, really. I'm not sure. I thought Trump was pro Assange when he was running, but now he's anti Assange. That seems weird.
Well, I also read some murmurs he might pardon both Assange and Ed Snowden to help with his election. I don't know what you think of. I think that would be fantastic if he did that.
Are you an Edward Snowden fan?
I support Edward Snowden. Yeah, what do you think of Edward Snowden? Do you see the movie?
No, I didn't see the movie. I guess I'm neutral on Assange and I'm neutral on both of them, I guess.
Really? Why is that?
It seems like Assange may have gotten like translators or something killed in Iraq by not like looking over those documents enough before he released them. That's what a lot of people say. They got innocent people killed because their names were in there. But I think we do need to know that American military killed journalists, like, and hid it. That's something that we would expect from like Saudi Arabia or North Korea or Turkey or something like that.
I've read that they redacted the documents enough such that it protected spies and government agents. But I also saw that he himself said that even though they did redact those documents, if he had to make a choice between not releasing them or releasing them completely unredacted, if he had to make that choice, he would have chosen to release them, which I thought was quite interesting. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think it's important for people to know that these things go on.
Yeah, and it's important. I think the American public should know what happened with him. I don't think we're going to let him live. I think we're going to kill him, or he's just going to go to jail forever. He's never getting out. Biden's not going to let him out.
Oh, hell no. I mean, unless he gets pardoned, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of his only option at this point, which that would be fantastic if Trump pardoned both of those guys. But I did see in the movie with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who did a fantastic job, especially with the voice acting, because Ed Snowden has a very distinct voice, you know. And yeah, it was a great movie. Really just put you there, you know, in that event, because this was in 2013. I remember it was shortly after I was done with high school, and I remember it making huge headlines. You know, he was hiding out in Hong Kong, and I saw Ryan said that he knew, and other people in the alternative media knew where Snowden was before the government did, which I find quite hilarious. But it also put the family who, particularly when the movie was being made, the family who hosted him, very poor family in Hong Kong, they shared the lawyer. They had the same lawyer at the time. And, you know, Ed was trying to hide from the government, obviously. They were put in danger by the movie in particular because of the fact that they did help him. But they sought refuge in Canada, and they are now living in Canada. I believe they are Chinese, but they speak very good English. I just saw a short piece on them of she has a daughter, and I think it's just the mom too that I saw. But it's quite interesting aspect of that story. Those people that helped Ed out during that time. It's just a really fascinating story. You know, he's got these two parents that have been Federals for his whole life, and I think he said back 2 or 3 or 4 generations his family has been Federals, and you know, in that way he's almost like the chosen one. Like there was no one else but him who could have done this because of his background, his family background, and his gifts that he had or skills that he had with regards to computers as well.
So you're pro Assange then? Yeah, I don't think Trump's gonna pardon him though. Doesn't seem like it.
I would be shocked. I think I would be borderline shocked if he pardoned both those guys, but I also think it may do a lot to help him get elected, and that's really his only concern right now is getting reelected.
Yeah, Snowden I don't think is a favorite among Republicans, so I don't think he'll pardon Snowden either.
Yeah,
It is weird that Snowden's in Russia and Trump supposedly has a good relationship with Putin. It's weird.
Oh yeah, he has a much better relationship with Putin than Obama did, no doubt. Just looking at the body language when they interact, it's quite easy to tell that.
Yeah.
But let's pivot to Peter Nygard. So Peter Nygard, for those that don't know, is a man from Canada His net worth is about $817 million, so he's almost a billionaire, but not quite. Poor him. He is the founder of a women's clothing company called Nygard International, similar to our main man hiding out in the Outer Rim, Jean-Luc Brunel. And like Mr. Brunel, he is taking some heat. His house was, or his headquarters, corporate headquarters, were raided by FBI agents back in February, the Tuesday of the last week of February, and 57 women have accused Peter Nygard of some form of sexual assault dating back to the 70s. And some of these women said that they were 14 years old at the time of the assault happening. Nygard is claiming that these people are getting paid off to make these allegations, which is quite a lot of people to pay off. One thing that is not helping Mr. Nygard is the fact that his sons, his own flesh and blood, have also launched a lawsuit against him, saying he set them up to be raped by his girlfriend at the time when they were just teenagers. But as far as an update on this case with Peter Nygard, a stay of proceedings puts the case on hold, but does not drop the case. And that is exactly what a judge did, put a stay of proceedings on this case. So it will not proceed any further for an indefinite period of time.
Is he a free man right now?
He is. He hasn't been charged with anything. He's not in custody, but he is, quote unquote, cooperating with authorities. The Canadian police and the Bahamian police are also investigating Peter Nygard. Yet another one of these. He's pretty much in the billionaire class, even if he's not quite worth $1 billion. He's up there enough, I would say. But another one of these guys that is tied to the infamous Jeffrey Epstein as well. So not a good update on that front in terms of justice, with the judge putting a pause on all proceedings against Nygard. Yeah. The reason for it, I couldn't find any reason for that, why stay of proceedings was put in place.
That's kind of messed up. I feel like Jacob Blake and Nygard should switch places. They're both rapists, right? That's kind of weird. The one is a white rapist and he's a billionaire almost, and the other one's a black guy and he's poor and he's also a rapist, but he got shot and paralyzed. But the rich white one, nothing.
He's free. Yeah.
And it seems like Jacob Blake only raped one person apparently, but this guy has raped like tons, and he's ran like an international like pedophile ring. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it says something, I think, more so about socioeconomic level than race, but I think even a comment on race as well. Thanks everybody for tuning in around the world. Got a comment here from Nanja Ninja. He thinks that Assange and Snowden should both be pardoned. The USA government is a corrupt POS. So, I don't know, just another update, Peter Nygard in the peripheral of the Epstein case. But I don't know. What did you want to talk about, Shrimp? I know you had at least one thing on your mind.
We could bring up COVID really quick, because I think a lot of people have a misunderstanding about the recent facts that have come out. For example, they say that COVID only affects children that have like a pre-existing condition already, and they say that only 6% of people are dying from straight COVID. The other 94% that die of COVID have pre-existing conditions. But like, I have asthma and my sister has a thyroid problem. My other sister has diabetes. So what's left of my family would all be dead of COVID, if that's true. And they say America has almost a 50% obesity rate. So 50% of Americans would fall into that rate just from being overweight. They would fall into the 6%, they'd fall into that small percentage of dying from COVID. And most people over 50, almost all people over 50 have pre-existing conditions. So I think it's still slightly more dangerous than the flu. I think
Yeah,
some of the numbers people get deceived about. I don't think it's like Ebola or anything, but it appears to be like 4 or 5 times more dangerous than the flu, at least.
yeah, yeah. And like I said, I got tested earlier this year. It came back negative after like a month and a half. I finally got my results back. But yeah, it's still not something that I want to contract. But we also have yet another knife crime. Looks like it was a knife melee involving several people in Birmingham, United Kingdom, in England. And the police of the UK are supposedly investigating that one. Don't keep your hopes up on the UK police there, folks. But
Yeah,
it's just out of control. The knife crime in England, the PC political culture, politically correct, just everything that's going on over there. It's kind of, I don't know, it bothers me, man. I'm not even a citizen of England. When you see
yeah,
there's this video of a woman getting stabbed, and this clueless cop was standing right next to the assailant. He still has the knife in his hand, and the cop was like, he didn't even realize it. He was so inept. It's just, and then I made a short video about it. But then you also got the migrants, illegal migrants, coming over from Eritrea or other countries, being housed in 3- and 4-star hotels. And perhaps the more alarming thing about that is the fact that the government is not being forthcoming about this. So you have citizen journalists, and finally RT got somebody over there after, I forget his name, Nigel. I can't remember his last name. Nigel something. He did
not
a piece
not
on it.
not Nigel Farage, right?
No, yeah, that's his name. That's his name. Nigel Farage did a piece on it, and then other citizen journalists started coming forward, and then RT did a piece on it, and they all got confronted by police. No explanations were given. Uh, they would call the hotel. The hotel would claim that all rooms were booked. They would go there. There would be almost no cars in the parking lot, and they would see, mostly young male migrants, but also families as well. But they did interview a couple of them, and they talked about, being from Iraq and how terrible it was there. I remember one man in particular speaking on that. But I don't know, man. I just don't understand the United Kingdom's government. I really don't.
Yeah. Even having a knife in the UK is a crime. They view it like the same as having a gun. You're only allowed to have like a really small knife. I think it's like a 1 inch blade or something like that. They have pretty strict knife laws there.
Yeah, same with Japan too. In Japanese, the authorities are very. They got, I think it's 3 inches or 2 inches. I can't remember. But yeah, you can get a lot of trouble for having a knife that is uh, too long, or exceeds that length. Which in the U.S. we're not really used to that, because we have our Second Amendment, right? Which is also under attack among other aspects of our Bill of Rights, including the First Amendment. Which I just saw this pretty funny video by these, I can't remember their names, but it's just like redheaded guy with long hair, and then this other white guy with short brown hair. They make comedy videos. I can't remember their names, but they made one about the community guidelines of YouTube and how very vague they are about what breaches those community guidelines, and just the basic idea of them having a monopoly over the video sphere, although that is coming under attack somewhat, but with guys like Brand New Tube, BitChute, Brighteon, Wistia as well. But I thought it was quite funny how they attacked it, and pretty witty too, how they came at it to make fun of the community guidelines. Because I've appealed. I think every time I've gotten like a warning or whatever, I've appealed it, but particularly on my George Webb interviews. But I've never had an appeal overturned. Have you
I
ever?
I got a warning for cyberbullying because I was talking about Channel 4 News in Buffalo. And I was it doesn't even make sense to get cyberbullying because how I'm one person, and I'm gonna cyberbully an entire like multi-million dollar news corporation. I don't know. I was getting harassed by Channel 4 News because they were saying I was white supremacist because I was covering COVID. So I made a bunch of videos on them. YouTube gave me warnings about the videos, and they removed like 15 videos about it. I find that I can do videos with swearing, drugs, um, guns, and those don't get removed. But anytime I do a video that has any type of violence, even if it's very little violence, it's from like even if it's from Fox or CNN, and they are monetizing their videos, I can't play that same clip. Or if I have Republican talking points, if I play Tucker Carlson or it's viewed as a Republican type video, it will get banned. I feel like if I had a video where I said I was gay, transgender, queer, LGBT, and I was doing drugs and like throwing guns around and stuff, and like I feel like that wouldn't get banned. But if I made like a pro Donald Trump video, it will probably get banned or demonetized.
Yeah, I noticed when I haven't done a walk and talk in a while, a live stream, but when I had Donald Trump in the title of one of them, it didn't notify anyone for like 20 minutes or like 25 minutes because I get the email, right? It says Addy Ads is now live, premiere, etc. And usually it's
Yeah.
like right away, 10, 15, 20 seconds into the broadcast. But when it was like why I'm voting for Donald Trump, I think. And yeah, it took like 20, 25 minutes. I was like, well, they're not even going to notify people or whatever. But eventually they did. It was like a 45-minute video total. But yeah, there's definitely an algorithm going on whereby it controls that. And I don't
They
know.
only want they only want a moderate left view on YouTube, basically.
You don't
I feel
think
like
they would even tolerate extreme left view on YouTube?
I think you're gonna get into trouble eventually if you had an Antifa channel. I think it would get taken down eventually. Because I look for Antifa channels on YouTube, there really isn't any. I
Yeah.
see I see Republican channels like where it's Antifa versus Proud Boys and stuff, but there's not really many like straight Antifa videos where they're just posting their stuff. Facebook removed 1,000 Antifa groups like in the last week.
Really? That's kind of surprising.
But at the same time, I think if Black Lives Matter threw a Molotov cocktail at the police, it would be viewed way better than if Antifa did it. I think I think they'll like basically give a pass on Black Lives Matter versus Antifa. They probably view Antifa the same way they view like the alt-right groups and the militias.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I think more is I don't think I could have said this 2 years ago, but today I think people are starting to get sick of Antifa and turning on them.
Yeah.
I've seen anti-Antifa signs being held by Black Lives Matter supporters.
Oh, wow. That's interesting because they're both left-leaning groups.
If you look at Black Lives Matter, they're now dressing like Antifa in all black bloc. Black bloc is just like military black style clothing. Black Lives Matter, at least here in New York, they are you can't really distinguish Antifa from Black Lives Matter a lot of the times. They're now dressing the same.
Speaking of New York, what's been going on with Rochester, Shrimp? Because I know you thought about going there the other night, but you ended up turning around because you just deemed it too dangerous, and no one faults you for that. That's you got
I
people
went there
smashing
to
cars and people getting killed too with these things. So
I go to Rochester like once or twice a week usually because I know some people there. The last time I went there was just like a ton of cars on the highway and stuff, and there was a lot of people. So I don't know. I just turned around because I didn't want to have to drive through protesters.
Yeah.
Past them when I got off the highway. I want to film the stuff. I don't know. It's Rochester is getting kind of crazy. It's more crazy than Buffalo. There's protests in Buffalo too. All the suburbs in Western New York, they're protesting really, except for the suburbs in the country. But all of Western New York and upstate New York, they're protesting in most of these towns. Sometimes they turn violent, other times they don't. But Buffalo and Rochester, downtown in the main streets now, all the windows are being boarded up, and all the commercial places now, you're seeing stuff boarded up. It's only the rich white areas that have been unaffected. All the places downtown and stuff in Western New York, and all the places where people have businesses are starting to board up.
Are we gonna see this again? Do you think this releasing of a video of a black man getting killed, or at a different city, and then it popping off there? Maybe in Texas, maybe another place in the Midwest, or another East Coast city.
Yeah, we're gonna see it. We're gonna see it again and again. It's the same thing because it's the same thing since Rodney King died. Nothing has changed. We just have cameras everywhere now.
Yeah.
But there's white people, and there's all people of all races being killed by the police. If a black cop messes with the white person, it's not going to get airplay. It's gonna create a problem and it's not going to matter if the cop's innocent or guilty, if he's justified or not. Anytime a white male cop kills a black male or a black woman, it's going to cause a problem, even if they're justified in doing it. And that's just going to happen. There's more interactions with the police too now with all the rioting and protests.
Someone got pulled over right in front of my house yesterday, and I taped them for 25 minutes, dude. I seriously did. I took my phone and I went and I taped them. Like, my window's right here. It was literally right my neighbor's house, like right in front of them. And it was a black guy and his girl. They took his license plates. I don't know why that is, but he was very compliant. They didn't disrespect him as far as I could see. And they ended up leaving in, looks like, his girl's car or something. But I don't know why they would take his license plate. Maybe it was expired or something. But it went without a hiccup, fortunately. But yeah, I mean, you spoke about the police affecting white people too. And I want to mention this again as well. Vice actually just did a story on Mr. Bell, Michael E. Bell Jr. and Michael E. Bell. And he said this himself. He's like, I am a former military officer, military veteran in the Air Force. I'm white. I have money, and I still can't get justice for my son's death. Which, if people want to check it out, just YouTube or Google Michael E. Bell shooting. He was a white boy, 22, I think, and as far as I can tell, it was a blatant execution. I think he was in handcuffs. He had two police officers on him, and a third police officer came and put his gun right to his temple and just blew his brains out.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
And they have video where they themselves reenact the killing. The freaking Kenosha Police Department. These guys are geniuses, just completely self-incriminating themselves. But because of this qualified immunity, these people can do whatever they want. And not just the police, the FBI, the CIA, anybody in intelligence. There is no recourse for breaking the law, for being treasonous to this republic that we live in, to being traitors to the American people. And it's time for heads on spikes, Eric Weinstein said. It's time for heads to roll. And not our heads, not the common folk. We're talking about political leaders. We're talking about people in intelligence. And I interviewed a guy earlier this week who used to work for the CIA. And he has a rap sheet of people he thinks that should be facing indictments as well. And a lot of these people align with what George Webb sees as treasonous acts by people in intelligence, whether it's Lisa Page, Peter Strzok, James Comey, Clapper, this whole group, right? And, you got FBI misbehaving with and covering up pedophile networks like the Franklin scandal in the late 70s, 80s, and 90s with Lawrence E. King. They needed 3 grand juries to cover that up, whereas Epstein's pedophile network, they only actually needed 1 grand jury to cover it up. And Epstein was more associated with the Democrats, and they were more so into little girls, whereas the Franklin network was more run by the Republicans, and they were more into little boys. And they would actually traffic these boys from Boys Town to Washington, D.C., among other places, California, Hawaii, and pander them to the rich and the famous. I'm actually reading this one right now, Confessions of a D.C. Madam by Henry Vincent, and Nick Bryant has a foreword on it, which talks about this as well. Henry Vincent is a gay man who was a funeral director, and he ran a gay escort service in Washington, D.C., which eventually got hijacked by the CIA, and he ended up having to make somewhat of a Faustian pact with the intelligence community, which he didn't realize at the time. Very interesting life this guy has been leading. He's from a poor family in Appalachia, extremely abusive father, very smart guy though. But you can tell he became a funeral director at age 22. But I need to finish this because I think this ran on both sides, this particular network. But it was related to the Franklin network as well. So yeah, this just qualified immunity. It just needs to go, man. Like and this ex-CIA guy, John Kirkow, I can't remember how to pronounce his name, but of Greek descent. And this guy's white, which I would say Greeks are white, even though he's got a little tan to him, a little Mediterranean tan. He said he has come to despise the police, and this guy used to work for the government, right? So, it's just it needs to change. And I do want to go down to Kenosha and hopefully get an interview with Michael E. Bell Sr. to talk about his son and the case and the Jacob Blake case as well. And that's another argument which I don't like at all, man. Like, just because someone is a criminal doesn't mean they deserve summary execution. We do have due process and equality of treatment before the law, and everyone should get their day in court. Excuse me. 6th Amendment, 14th Amendment, the right to a trial before your peers, the right to due process.
He shouldn't be trial. He shouldn't be made into a martyr, though. Which
hell no, is. I don't agree with that either. I don't. That's the opposite end of what I'm talking about. And they're both extremes, right? Trying to make a martyr out of someone who literally was just murdered, I don't agree with. Even the concept of martyrs in general, that's probably a different discussion entirely. Is that
Jacob Blake shouldn't be made into a hero either, I don't feel like, because he raped somebody apparently.
No. And that's not what I'm trying to do. But, we have to cut out this light switch thinking and put on our adult thinking caps, which...
Yeah. Too many Republicans think you got the green go if somebody committed any crime. He jaywalked 10 years ago. Mow him down. Put some bullets in his head if he committed any crimes ever in his life.
It's just this holier than thou thinking. It's like, oh right, like you've never sinned before, dude. Like show me someone who has no speck in their eye, right? Isn't that what the Bible says?
Yeah, it's just we're in like a twilight zone because 3 months ago Republicans hated the police. They're bringing assault rifles to like the Congress buildings in Michigan and stuff, protesting with ARs. Mm-hmm. And they were saying that they hated the police. Republicans 3 months ago hated the police. They're telling everyone they weren't going to teach their kids to respect the police, and it was all over. You saw people with guns. They were Republican militia yelling in the face of police. Now they love them
because they killed a black man or a criminal. Really, it's more so about the criminality, I think. just like, oh, he was a robber. Who cares if he gets killed? Like, come on, dude. Are you serious? Like, so you think just because you broke the speed limit, you should get killed or have your arm broken? Like,
Yeah, we can't have street justice being implemented by the police.
or approved by citizens,
Yeah.
because that's just as bad.
Well, it's going to be hard to stop that because
Yeah, and then what happens when it comes to you? Then it's like, oh, actually, I want to be treated fairly under the law. Or it's like, what do you want here, man? Like, you're the one who said you wanted street justice. Like, it's just an argument I'm not buying into. And you see, I don't know. I see intelligent people that I respect within our sphere in YouTube, ShrimpZoo, doing this too, where they're like saying Kyle Rittenhouse is a patriot. And I'm like, this guy is not a fucking patriot.
yeah,
Excuse my language. Sorry.
I think that like he's not. I don't think he should go to jail. I guess. I think
You
that
don't
they
think
should
so?
probably. I think they should let him off. I think. I don't know if probation or whatever, something like that. I don't think he should be allowed to own a gun ever again. But I think his parents bear some of the responsibility. Have a 17-year-old there with a gun. I think it was self-defense because somebody pulled a gun on him and somebody else was going to hit him with the skateboard in the head. One of the protesters did have a gun on him.
Yeah. I think there's a
But
strong argument for self-defense. I'm not saying there's not, but
should he go to jail, you think?
I
He's
don't
not a
know.
hero. He's not a hero to me.
No, he's not a hero, and somebody's death should not be celebrated just because you don't like the communists or these Antifa people. It's so many people have gotten into fights, like drunk dudes in colleges, and like, should we celebrate their deaths because if they did die, like, I don't know, like I see smart people doing this, and I'm just like, they're getting caught into this light switch thinking, I think, where it's like, just because he's a communist or Antifa guy, like,
if
oh
it
yeah,
was
it's
like,
okay if he dies. And in fact, moreover, his death should be celebrated, and we should celebrate Kyle Rittenhouse. This dude is not, he wasn't even in his own state. Like, that's like me traveling to Minneapolis with an assault rifle and like protecting other people's businesses. Like, how does that make any sense?
yeah, he had no business there, in my opinion. And he's basically a little kid, not trained with the gun. He shouldn't have been in the middle of what was basically a war zone, not in his own home state. Doesn't matter how far he lived from the border. That was a bad decision to go to protest with guns. Anybody, I don't approve of anybody going to protest with guns. It's insane.
Yeah, you're kind of asking for confrontation.
Yeah, I think, but it's people keep doing it. They're upping the ante like crazy when you bring a militia with guns to a protest. I realize the protest, you can even call them straight riots if you want, but they don't really have guns. They're not armed like that. One side has like bulletproof vests and fatigues and assault rifles and everything, and the other side has like garbage cans as shields. Now, I'm not a fan of Antifa, and I'm not really a Black Lives Matter supporter, but bringing guns to the protests is upping it like crazy. It's calling for a civil war.
Yeah, and I did a little bit of reading about these Boogaloo boys who, I guess, are
Yeah, they were just
prepping for
trying
a
to.
civil war.
Yeah, they just tried to sell guns to Hamas, but they got caught.
Okay, I have an opinion on that, man. I think that was a total setup by the FBI.
Yeah, it was. That probably would have never happened otherwise.
I think it was a total setup. Like, they probably been badgering them for weeks, tried to find the least mentally stable dudes they could find in the Boogaloo Boys group, badgered him until they got him to say whatever, and then as soon as that happened, or they sent the text, then they arrested him right away, so that they could push forward the story in the media that the Boogaloos are all as crazy as these two guys, or as unhinged. Which I'm not saying I support the Boogaloo Boys, but it looked like entrapment to me.
I think the Boo Boys are basically harmless. There's not enough of them.
Mm.
They're not organized. You can't type in igloo or Hawaii or like pig roast. You can't type that stuff in on social media and not get banned. That stuff all gets removed. Go make a video on YouTube and title it Blue Igloo or something like that, and see how long it stays up. I've made videos like that. They've got removed, or they don't get views, or
And
the thumbnail goes gray. You can't see it.
yeah,
They censor anything to do with Boogaloo Boys, way more so than BLM or Antifa.
and Facebook, they banned Frazzle Drip, Adrenochrome, and I think Pedogate, and then Pizzagate. They banned all these tags. Like you can't use
Yeah,
them on any videos.
yeah, that's what happens with the Boogaloo Boys. They're targeted pretty hard.
Yeah.
I
But
think it kind of
fortunately,
started off as a joke.
we do have these other channels, and I encourage people to go and just start getting in the habit of maybe you don't go to YouTube and spend all your day on YouTube. Go to Brand New Tube, where I'm at, and go to Brighteon, which is Mike Adams' thing, which I've uploaded like the max amount to Brighteon, but I promote Brand New Tube a lot because they promote me. They made me a Rhodium account on there, so I encourage people to go and check me out on Brand New Tube, as well as BitChute, of course. You know, these other pro free speech video platforms. You know, we don't have to all just be confined to YouTube. And now George is on Wistia, which you do have to pay for, but as far as I can tell, they are allowing a much higher degree of freedom of speech than YouTube. But you know, the trade-off is YouTube is where not all of, but most of the traffic is, right? It's probably 80% of the traffic for videos on the internet is on YouTube. So I think that's what we have to work on, is getting more people to BNT and these other websites.
Oh, yeah, you're on the first page of Brand New Tube.
Yeah, they just put me back on there. That's pretty cool. And I just keep growing, man. It feels great. And I just been putting our videos on recently because that's kind of all I've been doing. But I need to update my book review intro, and then I have a couple book reviews that I'm going to try to put out before I head out to the East Coast on Wednesday, and among other things too, I want to get out. But yeah, those book reviews I want to get out too, just because I want to have a good intro for that. But yeah, I got a lot of books I'm reading. Oh yeah, another thing I wanted to mention too, because we did talk about masks and prepping last time. This is a great book by Neil Strauss. It's called Emergency. This book will save your life. He talks about it's basically a kind of a prose narrative about how he goes into prepping and learning how to learn survival skills, whether it's building a fire, tracking animals, or getting multiple passports, citizenship in other countries, you know, gas masks. He's got gas mask recommendations on there too. And if people want, I can actually do a Spark Notes of this. I may have to just gloss over it because I only read it once, and I read it, must have been about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago now, probably about a year and a half ago. But CPR as well, Tracking Nature and Wilderness Survival School. Just tying it into the book or our show the other night about prepping and masks, and we're gonna try to get this one guy on our show. ShrimpZoo knows him, and just have a straight prepper show. Maybe we'll go for an hour, just talk about prepping and stuff, because I think people would appreciate that as well. But yeah, Neil Strauss, Emergency. I bought this for I think $4 or $5 on Amazon. So
Yeah, that looks like a cool book. Have you started EDC or anything like that?
no, what is that?
EDC is everyday carry in the prepping world.
Oh,
Could be like a knife or a pen or anything. When I leave the house now, I always have a knife.
oh, you got a Swiss Army knife?
Yeah, I think you should. I think when people leave their house, they should always have a knife now.
Yeah, my switchblade's at
Small
my
one.
grandparents' house, but it's upstairs in the closet. I know where it is, but my grandparents are quite cognizant of spreading COVID, so we haven't been allowed in the house since then. So I'll probably just buy a new knife or maybe a new switchblade. But just to answer Venus's question, what is George on? George is on Twitter still, and if you guys want to check out my Twitter, because I can't remember his exact Twitter, but and he's posting videos via this paid service called Wistia, and he retweets them. And he tweets them out every day or so, every other day. But he's also doing collabs with Paul Cottrell and then McDuff as well, Kennedy's man, to bash the CIA or smash the CIA. So I think those are on Thursdays. He chats with Paul on Sundays. And I'm going to be in D.C. this week, as I said, so I'm going to try to get at least one chat in with George as well. Maybe we'll get a beautiful Potomac backdrop for one of our chats. And then Shrimp and I will try to talk every day, too. And just maybe the mornings would work best for me because I think we're convening in the afternoons. Yeah, so be on the lookout for that, too. I'm leaving Wednesday. So... yeah, it's looking forward to it, hanging out with George and learning from him. So that is Wednesday to Wednesday. And if people want to help me out, pay for expenses of the trip, it would be much appreciated. I bought my plane ticket already. I'm flying out of O'Hare. Got it very cheap, $70 round trip. But if you want to help out with lodging and food, etc., please feel free to head to my GoFundMe or PayPal or Patreon if you want to do that as well to help me out, because it is a charrette. I think he said there's like 12 spots or 13 spots he invited people to. So I'm quite grateful for that, to learn from George some more. And people should head over to Shrimp's Patreon as well. ShrimpZoo's Patreon's in the description box too. And our podcast channel as well. So if people want to go and subscribe to that, it should be the first link in the description box. We need to get to 1,000 subs before we can start monetizing. I have been demonetized. I reapplied for monetization. Shoot, a month ago now. It's been a month, and I still have yet to hear a reply. So that's unfortunate. But like I said, my GoFundMe, my PayPal, and Patreon are still working. They're still able to be used that way. So if not, please just hit the sub and like button as well. It's in the bottom right hand corner.
Yeah, help us get to 1,000 subs. That's like the magic number we need. 1,000 subscribers.
And we actually spoke yesterday after our show. Shrimp offered to have me fly out to his place in Buffalo. So that's something we actually may do later on this month once I get back from DC. Let us know if you guys would like to see that. We could do shows together in person with Shrimp and myself in Buffalo. I think that would be really cool. Feel grateful to know Shrimp and work with him. And I think it's awesome that he offered to do that. So definitely going to try to work that into both of our schedules. And we were just figuring out timing on it. So we want to do that for you guys, and just keep working on our podcast every day as well. And this is something that I think we're both quite committed to. And we will be back once again tomorrow. If people want to tune in then, we'll be at our regular time of 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Time, if people would like to check that out. And what is that? 16, 12, 8 a.m. Guam time, I'm pretty sure. So if anybody has suggestions for topics or guests you might want us to chat with, please leave them in the comment section of this video. And let me, before we sign off, let me just check out the Facebook comments, because they don't actually route to our videos live when I go on YouTube. So they sometimes do, but they also sometimes don't, depending on who's commenting. So, but yeah, it looks like those are all the comments for tonight. But any final thoughts before we sign off tonight, Shrimp?
Yeah, just everybody make sure you're getting prepared for the winter. Get a knife, gun. If you can, buy gold. Just have extra food ready. Make sure you're ready for what's about to come. Definitely, you don't want to be low on anything, or you don't want to need a gun by the time elections come. Make sure you have fire extinguishers, all the basic stuff. It's really going to get messy by elections. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I think you're right, Shrimp. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Stay frosty. And this has been our pandemic podcast with Shrimp Daddy, ShrimpZoo, and Adakin, the Lonely Ronin. And until next time, guys.